Hey, Tom here, FlipAnythingUSA. I've got a guest here with me, and he'll probably be around a lot more than that. I got Chris with me. Chris is in the mentorship and has actually been one of the more successful students, and glad to have you here, Chris.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and looking forward to talking real estate investing.
Yeah. So, a lot of people get concerned and when, hey, what do I buy? What should I buy? We're going into crash. You got to be more careful than ever. And, people, particularly, land is probably the riskiest thing you can do when things go down. And the reason I say is because if the values go down below construction cost, and they do that sometimes, then the land is free, because you're buying it for less than the cost of the building. So it's like you get the land for free. But not everybody is in that situation where not everybody suffers, in a crash. Some people have excess money, they can weather it. They can still, buy a vacation home or whatever they want to do. It's not necessarily bad for everyone, but that's what we're going to talk about. And Chris here actually has some stuff going on, and we're going to talk about that too.
It's the best thing I ever did.
Anyways, so if anybody's got any questions, you can go on here. Also, we've got the call-in feature going here, I believe. So if anybody wants to call in, you can. The number's above. Feel free to. I bought a piece of land, kind of a good one. It was like, expensive one, say. $2.5 million I paid for it. It's 5 acres of commercial. It's very well located. It's a prime piece of property, and I expect to get some cash flow coming out of it, even though it's vacant. And
There's nothing on the land.
There's nothing on the land
Just vacant.
Except for all the utilities in the world and all the power in the world. So it's really well located for those reasons.
What other kind of stuff do you have around the property? What other properties are around?
Well, I own another acre and 3/4 next door, and
Okay.
I've got a 16,000 square foot building there. There's also a new park gone in across the street. There's also, the whole place is
kind
just
of a
blowing up.
mixed use area.
I would call it what you would call neighborhood commercial. So it's got a lot of the stuff that you'd want to have in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
Goods and services, liquor stores, and I love retail. I love retail like crazy, and I love retail tenants, number one, because they're the most resilient tenants there are. I tell you, and once you get somebody that's self-employed, they're never going back, and so it's a wonderful thing. And so I bought that piece of land, and
You said for 2.5.
I paid $2.5 million, for that one. Yeah. But I've got a plan. I'll share. Class knows what's going on, but I'm not going to share it on YouTube. But but anyways.
Yeah.
So, Chris, you got something going. Why so confident to buy a piece of land? What'd you get?
Well, number one, I understand value.
Yeah.
Something you really preach, and that's you got to know value. And this one was a little tricky, but as probably a lot of people watching know, if they follow my story at all, I got myself into a 1031 exchange, which I've learned a lot just going through the process of a 1031.
Yeah, you got to get through some of the stress and strains.
It's
right?
been really good. It's kind of like I learned by watching you, but then once you actually get in it and do it yourself, you kind of learn on a different level.
Yep.
And so I took your advice and really, hey, let's try to get that other property sold, under contract and sold, which I did. And thankfully at a really great time looking back now. But then I'm, one thing I've already learned about the 1031, it's like, if you can be shopping for properties ahead of time, if you know you want to sell, you should be doing that. And if you can't, go ahead and get something under contract.
Yeah, it's a very tough thing. If you guys don't know how 1031 works, 1031, basically, you have 45 days from the time your property sells that you plan on deferring the profits out of. You have 45 days to identify the property. And that's usually not enough time to find a deal. If you have high standards of for deal making, which we do in the mentorship, it's not enough time. Sometimes it takes, sometimes you can find a deal overnight. It happens. But usually when you really need it, yeah, you know what? It might take 46 days,
Right.
and it's very stressful.
So I listed, I wrote down my properties though. On the one, on the thing I was given, it said list 3 properties, but I learned you can actually put more than that if you want to.
Yeah.
And there's some stipulations there. You have to be careful. You have to read through all the little clauses and everything. But I identified 4 different properties.
Really, actually allowed to identify 3.
Well, it was actually something about the amount that you can actually. Well, we should look into that because I was told something different. So we should look into that. But I was told as long as a certain number adds up to another certain number.
Hey, if you have an accommodator that'll do it, then do it.
Anyway,
the designation forms. Let me just say one thing.
Yeah.
The designation forms should only have three pieces, three properties to name. You can buy one or all of them. And let me back up just for 1 second.
Yeah.
So Chris had a property that he bought. He bought it right, and it was going up. And I remember when he first got in the mentorship, we talked about the deal and that sort of thing. And then he was fighting himself over selling it. Let's just back up just for a second, right?
Yeah, I was making good money on it in my mind.
In your mind.
In my mind, I was making good money on it because the plan was even before learning about FlipAnythingUSA and Tom, like I knew I kind of had the real estate bug. And so I was just trying to figure it out on my own. Yeah. And when I saw a property for sale by owner, I bought this thing because I was like, that's a diamond in the rough. And my wife and I, we took out, money out of our retirement to make it happen because I knew it was a good deal. Then I quickly, after I flipped that and we worked on the property every weekend, I turned it into an Airbnb.
Right.
And so then it started not only paying for itself, but then I'd make an extra $1,000 a month, And so I was like, man, this feels like good money. But then Tom and I started talking. He's like, you should really start considering what it might look like to go and cash out of this property. And
yeah, well, what I did is I asked Chris what it was worth, and when he told me what it was worth, I said, well, what are the numbers you making on that again? And it wasn't a very good return on investment compared to what you could get. Because he had a situation where he was at the top of the market, interest rates were low. It could only go downhill from there, it would seem. And so I said, man, and it was one of these deals where even if he has to take his lumps and pay the taxes on it, I think he's better off getting rid of it because you're getting such a prime amount for it.
It's true.
By today, even selling it today as opposed to then, you might take $100,000 beating on it, which is going to be most of your gain, what you're going to have to pay anyways. So even if you didn't find something, you know what I mean? And that's how I look at it a lot of times.
So I on the 1031, I identified 4 properties, but anyway, all 4, looking back at it, they were all vacant land lots because I had done a cash out refinance on the one that I had just sold, and so I was playing with some money, and I was learning more about finding opportunities of how do I get in this thing with the least amount of work and get out. And one of the lots that I kind of stumbled upon, it was right next door to a house that I had bought and flipped. And this lot had a mobile home with nobody living in it. Holes in the floor, holes in the window, AC didn't work, grass overgrown, just all that kind of stuff. And what I ended up doing, Tom, is I listed the mobile home for sale. If anybody wants to come get it, come get it. Somebody paid me $3,000 to come pull it out of the yard. And then I took a weed eater to the yard, just knocked down all the weeds.
Right.
And I turned around and I sold the lot for $30,000 more than what I bought for it.
Right. And that was easy money.
It was super easy. I was like, how do I do that again? So then I started trying to identify and look for other vacant lots.
Right.
And through the means of which you teach in your mentorship, I used some of those tactics, and I found another vacant lot, and this one was a beauty. I mean, it really was. You have to see through the trash to see the treasure.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But this one also had a mobile home on it that just burned down from a meth fire. It looked like, and I found the owner and talked to her, and She wanted way too much money, but we kept the conversation going.
Yep.
I didn't take it as a no. I just left the door open.
Yep.
And so I went ahead and put that as a property I identified on my 1031, even though I knew, I was like, it may or may not work out, but I'm going to go ahead and write it down.
Yeah. So it's interesting what he's saying is you have to, what happens is you kind of have to prioritize things. Maybe you got one for sure you're going to buy, or it looks really good, so that goes on the list. But then maybe you don't have anything else but that, so you take your second choice properties, but the best thing next to that, you know what I mean? And then you list it, and then maybe your third choice, get it, meaning you're like, you haven't made a deal on it yet, they haven't come around to the price you want yet, but you put it down because it's the only thing you got going. And you can update these designation forms constantly. I was constantly emailing and changing mine.
Right.
But to give you an example, I had a 1031 going on one property. Then I found a property that I wanted to buy, and I was doing a reverse 1031 where I actually pay cash for what I want and then put that in the accommodator's name and then start selling the properties I want to sell to buy. A reverse 1031, if you can afford to do it, is a fantastic vehicle for maximizing your investments. In other words, it gives you time. In other words, you find the deal. You don't sell your property and then go look for the deal. You find the deal that you want and you pay cash for it, and then you have the accommodator hold that. Then you can take your time, because then you can sell multiple properties, and all three properties, as soon as they sell, you identify this one that you've already got as the one you're going to buy. And that's what I did, and so I got those all rolled into it. And then I'd forgotten about the property that I had a 1031 exchange I completely forgot about, where there was $300,000 sitting there. And I needed a little bit more money to make the nut to pay the whole thing. And I go, oh yeah. And I ran back, but I knew I was too late to change the designation form. I knew I was too late.
Right.
So I went back and looked, and to my relief, I did designate that building.
Yeah.
So it was a good thing, even though it was like at that time, because this proceeded long before I ever had a contract. But thank God I labeled that building as one of my pieces, because it allowed me to roll it in there, and I made it within like really close call.
Yeah, I mean,
like
if,
5 or 6 days.
If there's one that you think it could work out, go ahead and identify it.
You got to you want to fill the slot, no matter what. You want to fill the slot. Hey,
Right.
Good morning, Jermone. Hey, by the way, if you just got here, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Apparently my subscribe button doesn't work. So please hit that subscribe button. And you can imagine if it says subscribe here. But yeah, hit that button if you would. It helps the channel. And by the way, Chris is going to be hanging out a bit more, right?
Yeah. We'll be hanging out, and we'll be making more videos. And it's interesting going back to the vacant land thing, right?
Yeah.
And we're in a recession, and it's like, am I going to be buying gobs of real estate right now? Well, there is one that I am buying, and that is why we started talking about vacant land. But one of the properties I identified was that vacant land lot. And here's kind of a little something I learned in the process. This lot is a pretty rare lot. Okay, there's only maybe 6 or 7 of them.
That's how I feel about my commercial property.
Right.
There's only so much of this. It's the biggest single piece of property in the
And
city.
so, first of all, finding something that rare, there's value in that in and of itself.
Sure.
But the harder part is, how do I comp this? How do I really understand what is the value of this?
Let's not give away too much here.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But my gut was telling me, if I buy this property, it's going to be worth $200 if I wanted to sell it.
Right.
And so that's where I started scratching my head, and I was like, man. And so I was talking to the owner, trying to negotiate a price, and finally I was like, you know what? I think I know what I'm going to do, and that's where I ordered an appraisal, and it worked out really well, because what I got it appraised for, what I think I can sell it for, there's a pretty wide margin there.
Yeah, so he's lucky. This is the thing, when you're in the class, what you learn is you're going to be better than any appraiser in town, I guarantee you, because that's the thing you learn, number one, in the mentorship, is you have to know value. You got to know value. And I have appraisers call me because I own so much property in different areas, and they'll ask me specific questions. And so this is a situation where Chris knows the area better than any appraiser, but the appraiser actually came in and gave a figure that was less than Chris, less than Chris was willing even to pay, right?
Something else interesting happened when I was talking with an appraiser. So that the first vacant lot, or the mobile home lot next to the house that I was flipping,
Yep.
I had to get an appraisal done on that house when I sold it, for the new buyer. And I was looking at how they appraised the house originally just a year before when I had bought the house and I was going to flip it.
Yep.
And they listed the land value as, let's just say, 30,000.
Right.
So they assessed, we'll give you 30,000 for just the lot if there wasn't a house there. Well, I had just sold the lot next door for 70.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And so I told the appraiser, I said, hey, this better show up differently on the report, because this lot right next door just sold for 70. And so I want to know, I want it to show that this is worth 40 more.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because it's an important thing that people should realize. People think you just let the appraiser in and walk away. No, if you're trying to get an appraisal up, you go in there and you give him supporting data to bring that number up, if that's what you want. Or if you want that number to be down, bring him supporting data to kill it and make it less. And there's a reason you'd want to go with either way. So, but a lot of people feel like they're not allowed to talk to the appraiser. That's not true. You can bring them all the data you want.
Yeah. So is it wise to, I've seen in our area, acreage kind of in the area that I like to shop in the past couple of years, it's been going for $20,000 to $25,000 an acre. I recently, just yesterday as I was shopping, I saw a pretty big spread and it was going for about $14,000 an acre.
Yeah.
So I think we're starting to see some of the land prices come down.
Sure, and I mean, just reason it like any flipper. If you thought you could buy something for 25 and sell it for 30, that's great.
Right.
But when money starts tightening up, you're starting to wonder,
Right.
How much can I flip it for? Period.
Yeah, and going back to what you were talking about, I think it's really important for people to consider. I mean, if you don't have an asset that is producing value that you can rent out, like a
Costs
home,
are killer. Yeah.
then you're just making payments on dirt and it's not paying you back. Yeah. I mean, I guess you're developing equity. Again, it goes back to buying right.
Well, and then the other thing, a lot of times with land, when you buy land, a lot of times you'll end up having you'll have a balloon payment. I've got a balloon payment on my property in about 2 years. Yeah. And so, it is what it is. I'm ready for it either way. But that stuff happens. But a lot of times you'll create a short-term loan so that they'll say yes, which is what I did on that. But yeah, it'll be interesting. So Chris has got a good deal on this, and like I say, he's got kind of a unique property. That's how I feel about my property.
We'll take a ride, or I'll show pictures at some point. We can take a look at it. But it's beautiful. I mean, again, I think that's, to be a great real estate investor, what I'm seeing more than anything is like you have to have vision for what something could be,
right?
But you also have to see it for what it is.
Yeah. Well,
and so like this lot without the mobile home on it, all burnt to the ground and trash everywhere. Yeah. There's beautiful oak trees. You have a view of the river, and I mean it's gorgeous.
There's an old saying, you can't see the forest through the trees, and it really applies to real estate. Even look at the property I bought recently where I cleared all the trees.
Right.
And it's like, oh my God, it's like a paradise, beautiful. You would never known because you can't see it. You can't see it through the trees.
Right.
Even above, you're above. It's just, it's just a gob of green. But once you clear it out, how beautiful.
Well, and I think it's thinking strategically, right? Whether it's land or commercial or residential, it's like, hey, what are the opportunities here? Can I turn this house into a duplex? Can I take this commercial and turn it into a bunch of short-term rental units?
Right. You got to have a hedge. I mean, if you're going to buy land, it's, like I had a piece of land, and it's like 50 acres, but it fronted a good highway, and I ultimately, I put in there was a little tiny house around it, but also I put in a lumber yard, not a lumber yard, but
sawmill.
No. It sounded like it at times, but no, it was it was a concrete guy's yard where he would, my camera's starting to screw up, a concrete yard where the okay, our cameras are goofing up. This isn't good.
Freezing up?
A little bit, sorry guys. Bear with us. Okay. So I had a tractor take out our internet line today, and we had to do a patch.
Hopefully they didn't take it out again.
And that's what I was getting nervous about.
It's acting really weird.
I think we're dead.
Hey guys, if you can hear us, we'll
No, I think
jump
we're
back
good.
on later, or
yeah. I think we might be good
be
again.
back soon.
All right, are we still here? Sorry about that. I think we're still live. Anyhow, yeah, I had a tractor take us out earlier. Took out my internet line, and it was right during the middle of a call. So, anyways, I think everybody still heard us. But what was the last point you were making?
I was just saying, it's just really important when you. I don't think you should ever discredit a property or a deal until you've really analyzed what are all of my options here. What can I do with this? How can I make money with this? Also, how can I get out of this? What are my
Yeah, that's your
exit
hedge.
strategies?
You got to have a way to get out or a way to make money with it. So good. Looks like everybody heard all that. But I just tell you, land is a risky endeavor because the chances of you having to hold it for an extended amount of time before development is much greater today than it was a year ago. Just because everything's more expensive, the money's more expensive, construction financing is more expensive, and they're not going to do as much of it. The banks are already running scared a little bit, and so they're not going to. Some people that are marginal, they're not going to loan them money at all.
The other thing I would say, if you're looking to invest in land, this would maybe only apply to rookie investors, but look into zoning and make sure you know what you can and can't do with the property, especially if you're in the city limits. I guess it only applies to city limits, but there's just things that you can and can't do. You might say, man, what a great property to build an apartment building. Well, it might not be zoned for that. So.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you got to do your due diligence.
Do your
That's
due
important.
diligence.
Yeah, and you know what? I've rezoned a number of properties too, and it was actually much easier than anticipated.
Yeah.
It was much easier than I anticipated. And anyways, I'll just leave it at that for today. But so you guys watching anything going on? Anything got you concerned? It looks like we might be having trouble with this stream again. So we may just cut it quick. Anyways, you're going to be seeing more of Chris around here. He's going to be helping me out, and we'll try to improve the content a little bit. I've been trying to take it easy a little bit more, and I've been wrapping up a lot of projects, so I'll have more time to put to this, and so I'm looking forward to that. Also, I'm not killing myself to find deals right now because it's a good time to relax. It's a good time to get skills. So, by the way, if you're watching here for the first time, you see the book behind me, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. Urge you to buy that. Be the best $10 you ever spend. I promise you that. I think you can even send it back if you don't like it. Get on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. And then also behind me, let me see if I can show you. God, we are having some trouble here. There we go. This is the mentorship. FlipAnythingUSA. Urge you to go to FlipAnythingUSA.com and have a look around. Some of the people watching here now, and Chris included, have taken the mentorship, and they've made fantastic amount of money.
And I'll add to that, Tom. For anybody that's listening, that's even considering the mentorship, or even just what's in your book, you can have a full-time job and still pursue this path and get
Oh,
started.
absolutely.
And that's
Yeah,
how
yeah.
you should do it to get started. But it really doesn't take much. You can read this this book in a weekend and start rolling.
Yep, takes 3.5 hours. In fact, you can buy it on Audible, and I'll read it to you. so I know it takes 3.5 hours for me to read. Anyways, but so I appreciate you guys hanging out. Like I say, we'll try to do some more live stuff here, and if we're a little bit worried about this connection here right now, so there's no sense trying to do a call in or anything like that at the moment. So, anyways, anything else you want to add?
That's it. You guys have a great day.
Yeah, we're gonna make some money this year. It's gonna be fantastic. Just got to be patient. So, we'll see y'all later.